You are listening to the Nightly News Podcast, the voice of the Knights.
Welcome back to the 200th episode of the Nightly News Podcast, and of course, we are always honored to be joined by Dr. Linda Fedrizzi-Williams, not only the president of Central Penn College, but also among the first ever inducted into the Nightly News Hall of Fame.
Yes.
And of course, we had to make sure that we had time to have you on today. So I don't want to talk about really, school-related stuff. This is really just more of a celebration. So I'm trying to ask some folks, when you think about the Nightly News, what are some of the fond memories that you have, and what do you believe that the Nightly News has meant and will continue to mean to Central Penn College?
The Nightly News is a staple at our institution, and I will tell you, when I very first got here in 2016, and I was the vice president for academic affairs, the first people that greeted me were Nightly News media students, and it was Norman. Norman came up to me, and
I just got to see Norm over the summer at the Senators games. Yeah,
he's all over our LinkedIn, and he's still a supporter. But he came right up, and he wanted an interview day one on the job about what I was planning to do as vice president. So that was my first greeting, and then even being involved with your students. I remember you having Brian Christiana in.
I just hung out with him last night.
Brian, still a supporter, strong alum of Central Penn, and watching them really grow and learn under your leadership, and not just in the classroom, but being part of Nightly News and being part of the podcast. And you were giving them opportunities that we really didn't even have in our curriculum yet, right? So teaching them skills in audio and how to use a microphone and how to interview people and be professional and how do you approach an interview. And that happened all the way up until just the end of the last term, where I had a student, during the final exam week wanting to interview me about changes at the college. And he was confident and came in and shook my hand. And it's been a really fun 8 years getting to know this club in particular.
So we actually just checked just to be sure. But Dr. Fedrizzi, you have been on episode 50, episode 100, episode 150, and now episode 200.
Oh my gosh,
it's
how
crazy.
Has it gone that fast?
I don't know. I wake up sometimes and I ask myself the same question. Where's the time go? My daughter graduated from college.
Wow.
I feel the same. So let me ask you this. One of my fondest memories was the very first Nightly News Hall of Fame induction. And since then, we haven't done this. We kind of have to tell people so we make sure that they're there.
Yeah.
You didn't know
No.
that you were going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame.
No, I didn't.
What do you recall that day? What your feelings were, how you felt?
I remember being so surprised and so honored because you do a job, and it's a job because you love it, and it's something that you love doing. I never thought that I'd be recognized by all of you for that purpose, and you acknowledged that I was supportive of the club and supportive of you asking tough questions. I didn't censor any of the questions that came up, and that's my upbringing too, right? So to be recognized for it, it means a lot. It doesn't matter what position you're in. When someone is recognizing that you're a supporter and a fan and encouraging and mentoring, it means a lot.
I just want to clarify what you're referring to. Because we are a private institution, we do not have carte blanche on what we write.
Right.
You are essentially our publisher.
Right.
And so if there would ever be anything that we have written that may not be the message that you want to have out there, it would be pulled down.
Right.
Let me tell all of the listeners out there, in the near 10 years, next year is 10 years. Now, not necessarily since you've been here, but since we've been in the club.
Yeah.
How many times has that happened?
It's never happened.
Never.
I will never do that to you.
Well, you certainly have the right to do so.
I know, but I believe in freedom of speech and freedom of press.
And that to us, when we were first thinking about who we wanted to be in the Hall of Fame, at least initially, it meant so much to us to put you in because of that. Not only the access, not only the care with our student reporters, who, let's be honest, are still learning in
students.
some cases.
They're students.
It was the fact that you've never come to us once and questioned anything that we did. And obviously, Professor Olimpi and I take much care in what we post and the podcasts that we put out there and what we say on the broadcasts. That all being said, we wanted to show you how much that meant to us. And now we have a stable of Hall of Fame that's just so fantastic. And, every time I see these folks, it's just great memories.
I know. It's amazing. And what you've done with the club and what the students have done is just incredible. So I'm excited to see the next chapter.
We are going to continue to be us. But I did want one thing that I wanted to bring up just very briefly, and this is something that we hope to share more information with you about in the very near future. But Central Penn, the Nightly News Media Club at Central Penn College has moved to a sort of out of club status and into a more organizational status. So as your parting thought, could you just share with us a little bit more about what that might mean for the future of the club?
So when we thought about this, and for people that don't totally understand what a different status is, it's like your student government association. It's more than a club. It's elevated a bit above a club. They get their own budget line, right? They get to think about how they're going to raise funds and utilize funds. And because Nightly News Media, currently club, serves as our press, serves as our audio, right? You're our news entity on campus. We don't have the traditional student paper, but it is more than that. You're more than a club. So this will really elevate the status on campus and allow you to have a budget line and allow you to have, space on campus. So it's important. It's a real honor, actually.
It is. 100%. I'm still looking forward to, in the coming months, to sitting down with you and Romeo, who is also a champion for this, just to learn more about what this would entail. And I would assume that, we'll be kind of full speed ahead on that in 2025.
Definitely. It's priority in 2025
Nightly News Hall of Famer, Dr. Linda Fedrizzi-Williams. Thank you so much for joining us.
Congratulations on your new space, too. I love it in here.
And I would love to have you back for a full episode sometime in the near future.
We are due.
Well, I appreciate your time today, Dr. Fedrizzi. Thank you so much. Welcome back to the 200th episode of the Nightly News Podcast. So honored to be here with you. I'm Professor Paul Miller, and we're going to have a couple of segments today with some special people from around campus who have supported us since the very beginning. We are going to have a trivia game, and it's going to be Nightly News Trivia. And the winner of today's Nightly News Trivia, between the couple of different trivia contests, opportunities that we're going to have, will win a special Nightly News prize. So I will keep score for you. We are being joined by Dr. Jack Babinchak, who actually shares this space with us. Jack, tell us a little bit more about what you do in our podcast studio that is also functions as your studio as well.
Yeah, we do corporate trainings, and we recently moved the studio. So like Paul said, we're together now in the same room. So we have a studio and editing equipment. So we come in here and we videotape lectures for our online classes, and then we edit those videos and upload everything into the classroom. So each of our online classes are full of lecture videos and content for the students.
Well, and so far it's been a wonderful experience. And once I would love to still get in touch with you about using the video stuff for in the future. But so far it's been a wonderful relationship that we've gotten to share the space.
And I will stop robbing your waters too.
It's okay. Quite all right. Also being joined by Dr. Ann Bizup. Dr. Bizup is a veteran of the podcast, has joined us on multiple occasions talking about one of her favorite things, and that is gardening, and is also one of my favorite things as well. So, Ann, I just want to thank you so much for all of your support and your willingness to be on the podcast. And those are some of the most fond episodes that I have because I love to garden.
I love to garden too, and here we are at the end of garden season.
I know.
Getting things ready for spring,
I'm going to have to, we're totally rearranging our whole gardening situation because we had raised beds and have seen better days, so we've taken them down. So we've got a uphill battle for 2025.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of work. I wish you the best.
And last but not least, Maggie Lebo. And of course, Maggie, it's such a pleasure to have you, not only because you've been a stalwart here at Central Penn College since I've been here, and I've been here for 11 years, but also because you're retiring at the end of the year. And I just want to thank you, and I wanted to have the opportunity to have you on the show because we're going to miss you very much.
I appreciate that. Central Penn has been a great place to be, and I'm so happy that I will be able to retire from here.
Well, and as much as we're going to miss you, of course, we know that you're going to be very happy in your retirement. You're going to find wonderful things to do, and hopefully you're going to rest and relax and go travel the world.
Well, I certainly hope so. I don't know about traveling the world. Well, we'll see. Maybe a trip to Florida to see my daughter.
That's traveling the world.
Yeah.
Okay, so everyone, we have a very special nightly news trivia. I've put together 6 questions. I don't necessarily expect you all to be experts of the nightly news, and that's not the function here. Just wanted to do something fun and a little different today. Okay, so we are going to have 6 questions. I will try to give you as much time as possible, and then when we're done, we'll go back and review them individually and see how many points you have. Okay, question 1. We have a Nightly News Hall of Fame, and we have had 3 different ceremonies over campus. It is something that we do. Last time we did at homecoming as part of a biannual induction. Number 1, how many Nightly News Hall of Famers do we have? And bonus points if you can name any of them. Question number 2. So we are recording today for episode number 200 of the podcast, something that we have looked forward to for an immense amount of time. As close as you can get, when was the date that the first podcast was released? As close as you can get. We'll do kind of Price is Right rules here. And although you can go over, there's not really going under or over. And for a bonus point, who, and I will give you a hint, they still work here, was the first guest on episode number 1. So again, when was the date of the first Nightly News podcast? And the bonus point, who was the guest? Question number 3. The Nightly News has been around for quite a long time here at Central Penn College. What year did we publish our first story? What year did we publish our first story? Halfway home, question number 4. One of the things that the Nightly News is most proud of is our sports broadcasts. In what year did we first broadcast our very first baseball game? And in what year our first basketball game? They are different. And of course, as a cheap plug, you can always go to youtube.com, the @Nightly News CPC, to check out all of our on-demand videos of all of our sports. Check out centralpennnights.com for more information. Okay. 2 of the things that we are immensely proud of that we have done is not just audio, is not just sports broadcasts. We have actually completed 2 documentaries. Name either of them. We have done 2 documentaries. Name either of them. Both of these are available on our YouTube page. You can go watch them at any time. And we are here for the final question. The final question. When I think back to my time with the Nightly News, the thing that I am honestly most prideful of is that we have won several, to say, Pennsylvania News Media Association Student Media Awards. It's a statewide organization. We compete with organizations like Shippensburg, Slippery Rock, Temple, big schools with massive journalism departments. And the fact that we are able to win these awards, it means a considerable amount, not only to our students, but to myself and Professor Olimpi. How many PNA awards have we won? And of course, bonus points for if you can name any of them, either people who won them or what category. Okay, so we're going to go over our answers here so we have the opportunity to come up with a score and see how we did. All right, first, how many members of the Nightly News Hall of Fame? The correct answer is 9. Dr. Fedrizzi, Norm Geary, Christine Fusselman, Sherry Smith, Yuli Adejo, Leslie Heimbaugh, Brian Christiana, Parker Rose, and Tyler Coleman are 9 Hall of Famers. So how many is 1 point, and then 1 for each of them. So up to 10 points on this question if you ran the table. Question number 2. First podcast was recorded released, February 9th, 2016. And the first guest was Steve Hassinger. So what we will do is give me the dates, and I'll determine who gets the point. What date did you have, Jack?
June 6, 2019.
Okay. And Ann?
June 1st, 2016.
Okay. And Maggie?
November 1, 2017.
Ann wins the point on that one because she was at least in the same year, so that's good. Okay. The year we started, next year will be 10 years, 2025. Our first time that we published an article is in 2015. Who would have known? How about that? First baseball game in 2018. First basketball game, 2019.
Really? That late for the first basketball game?
So it was the...
Why did I
had it
think
the
I
other
heard
way.
basketball games when I was here?
It was the...
I wrote 2018 for basketball and 2020 for baseball.
So it was the 18-19 season. So our first baseball game was 18. Our first basketball game was January 11th of 19. So it was the 18-19 season. It was just the second part of the season. So we have produced 2 documentaries. The namesake of our studio, the Nasir Harris Podcast Studio, is named after a student who unfortunately passed away. Sai Pinthong and Yuli did a documentary about his life, Nasir Harris, and that's available on YouTube. And of course, more recently, we did the West Shore Connect documentary that we did with the West Shore Connect students. And last but not least, we have won 6 PNA awards, including, so I'll read the students first, Dylan Bowman, Leslie Heimbaugh, and me. Actually, I have won one for our podcast. And Leslie Heimbaugh has won 2, as well as a diversity series, which is a wide variety of people. So if you have others that are not on that list, I can confirm or deny on that series. But the individual awards were Dylan Bowman, myself, Leslie Heimbaugh are the people who have won those awards. All right, so we'll total them up, and we'll read off our scores. So Anne has 4.
I have 4 points.
2 and 2. So, okay. So, Anne, thus far, you are in the lead. Well, listen, I appreciate all of you. Not only, listen, we invited you all here today because you have supported what we have done during my time here. And I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart on behalf of our group. Thank you so much for being you and being wonderful people and being so supportive of us. And thank you. I know that this was maybe a little bit different, but I really hope that you enjoyed it. So, Jack, thank you so much for being here, and I look forward to sharing the space with you.
Thank you, Paul.
And Anne, of course, we'll have you on in the spring. I'm redoing my whole garden. I need more tips.
Okay, I'm on it.
All right. And Maggie, in case we don't ever have the opportunity to have you on the podcast again, I just want to wish you the best in retirement. For me, it seems like retirement is so far away.
And that's a good thing.
but for you, I really hope you have time to spend with your family. And like I said, you get to travel and get yourself into something that you just enjoy and are so passionate about. And we just thank you for all of your hard work here at the college.
I appreciate that. And I appreciate you, Paul, for everything that you do for our students.
All right. Well, thank you for taking time to do my trivia game, and it's such a pleasure to have you. Welcome back to our 200th episode of the Nightly News Podcast. And so I'm so excited to have my next group of trivia contestants here on Nightly News Trivia, which is what the subject of today is. Basically, I have 6 questions, and I'm going to ask you, and you are going to fill out the answer that you believe that you have that is the correct answer. There are also plenty of bonus points available, so just do the best you can, and the winner will receive a special Nightly News prize.
Ooh,
so
nice.
The winner across, I believe I'm probably going to do 3 of these trivia, so you are very, very lucky. It's almost like being on The Price is Right, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway. Well, let me introduce who I have here today. The Director of Housing Residence Life, Lindsay Garber. Of course, Lindsay, you have been on the podcast numerous times, and so this is sort of old hat for you. But again, thank you so much for being here, and maybe tell us your most fond memory of the Nightly News.
Thanks for having me. I always love coming on the Nightly News and being able to talk about our department, our things we have going on. One of my favorite memories, I just really enjoy the opportunity to come in and talk about the college pantry with you. Just getting the word out there to be able to help our students, especially when it comes to food insecurity.
You know what my fondest memory is?
What?
When we recorded an entire episode and it was no good and we had to re-record it.
I remember that too.
The one time in 200 episodes that ever happened, because there was an issue with one of the microphones. So 2 of the people sounded fine, and we were with Sarah Walters, and her mic wasn't working properly. And I could have tried to salvage it, but I said, Lindsay, I'm so sorry. Can we
You
just
did.
record
You made
this
us.
again?
You made us re-record it, which means I should also get one of the prizes for being the only episode that you had to re-record like that. Huh?
Oh, I like the way you think.
Well, that could have been a trivia question, but I knew it would be unfair because you would have already known the answer. But again, Lindsay, thank you so much for always being willing to come on, and of course we'll have you again all for an entire episode in the future. Jen Mariacher, thank you so much for joining us. Not only are you a Slippery Rock alum, which I have a very soft place in my heart for people who went to the Rock and spent all that time out in the middle of nowhere.
You got it.
But you are also very instrumental in getting us this space, which we love. I mean, look how great this place is. It's such a treat to be here. So I just wanted to thank you for helping us get this new space. It's been something that we really appreciate very much.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
So go Rock.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Slimy Pebble.
Last but not least, we're being joined by the Library Director, Margaret Schachte. Margaret, thank you so much for joining us. And of course, one of the integral members of our CPC film series. So we're very much looking forward to that. We just had a very successful event recently. So again, Margaret, not only just thank you for everything that you do, but you're just such a bright note around campus. Every time I see you, always a smile on the face. Don't know how you do it sometimes, but I give you a ton of credit for that.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm really excited to be back.
Well, okay. So here's the deal. We are having nightly news trivia. There are 6 questions. I certainly don't expect anybody to know all of the answers to these questions, but just try to think about the legacy or impact that we've had when answering some of these questions and make your best guess, okay? Question 1. So the Nightly News has a Nightly News Hall of Fame. We have done 3 different celebrations, 3 different inductions of former alumni members and people at the college who have supported our mission. How many Hall of Famers do we have is the first question. And number 2, bonus points for if you can name any of them. Okay, so today we are celebrating, at least recording, our 200th episode. Way back on episode number 1, I can remember this day. What was the day that it was released? The date and year, as well as the bonus question, who was on episode 1? And I will say, this person still works here.
What if you get all the bonus stuff right, but the actual answer's wrong? Is that okay?
Yep, it counts.
Okay.
Ever since, I don't want to say ever since I've been here personally, but certainly since I've been here as a full-time professor, I've been very actively involved in the Nightly News, and even prior to that, when I was here as a part-timer as well, I was one of the advisors of the club. Tell me the year that we published our first story. The first story that we've ever published, what was the year that it was published?
What year did you start here as a full-time professor?
Again, you're very inquisitive, but I'm going to resist the temptation to give in.
That was a great segue, though. I like that.
One of the things that we are very, very proud to do here is to do our sports broadcasts. Of course, we call our baseball and men's and women's basketball games. So, of course, we are very, very much looking forward to that. But the question here is, what year did we first broadcast our first baseball game? And what year did we broadcast our first basketball game? And they are 2 different years. And then we have 2 more questions.
I feel like I'm failing miserably. I don't know about anybody else.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, the leader's in the clubhouse with 4. So
Okay, all right.
if that helps you at all.
No, it doesn't help at all, actually.
This isn't intended to be easy.
But for those of us with a competitive streak,
I
it's
understand.
Yeah, this is a
little-
challenge.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. This would be question 5. The Nightly News has helped to produce 2 different documentaries. We are not just about audio. We're not just about sports broadcasts. We're not just about written stuff, publication. We have actually produced 2 different documentaries. Name either of them, or both.
I didn't even know that you've done that, so now I have to go back and see the documentaries, I guess.
They're wonderful. You were here when one of them was made.
Oh, no. Really?
Yes.
Oh, now I feel terrible.
No pressure.
And our final question. And again, I will recap so you can go back and try to knock some of these off. Okay. As I think back to my experience with the club, the number one thing in my memory is the fact that we have won multiple Pennsylvania News Media Association awards. We are going up against schools 10 times our size, including Slippery Rock University, I might add, and Temple and Pitt, and huge schools with massive journalism departments, and we have won multiple awards from a much smaller institution. The first part of this question is, how many Pennsylvania News Media Awards have we won? And bonus points if you can name any student winner or any category that we have won. I'm going to have you score yourselves. So I will, if you have a question on whether something would be accepted, please ask. Okay. The first question, how many Nightly News Hall of Fame members do we have? We have 9.
Oh, goodness, I was so off.
Dr.
Sorry.
Linda Fedrizzi-Williams, Norm Geary, Christine Fusselman, Sherry Smith, Brian Christiana, Yuli Adagio, Leslie Heimbaugh, Parker Rose, Tyler Coleman.
Okay, so I had the last name, but I couldn't remember what his first name is. I have Christiana, but I put
Just
the guy
count
that MCs at the baseball
Just
game.
count it. Just
You're
count it.
good. You're good. Yep, for sure. Okay, the second question was the date of our first podcast was February 9th, 2016. And the guest, Steve Hassinger.
Oh, I got Steve
I
right.
got Steve too.
Okay. Now we got to figure out who gets, what was the date that you guessed, Margaret?
I guessed March 20th of 2018.
Okay.
I went with a year 2018.
I don't want to share.
Was it?
October 2018.
Okay. So you have October 2018. You have
March.
Yeah, so
and you
she's
have
closer.
just 2018. I'm going to give that one to Margaret.
Yeah, she's
'Cause-
closer.
But February 9th, 2016.
Does
actually
that mean
won.
I get 2 points?
It does. Okay. What year did we start? We are actually getting ready to celebrate in 2025 10 years as a club. We started in 2015. I started
remember
here
that.
full-time in January of 2016, but I actually was the advisor of the club when I was a part-time instructor in 2015.
Oh, that's what threw me off because I thought you started. Okay.
Jared Reif and I, Dr. Reif and I started the exact same day. How about that?
But you started before you were full time here with the club.
I was part-time since 2013, so I've actually been
yeah.
here for almost 12 years. How about that?
Oh.
Doesn't time just go by so fast? Okay.
Flies.
The next question. The first baseball game was broadcast in 2018. The first basketball in 2019. It was the 18-19 season because the basketball game was January 11th, 2019, and the first baseball game was April 18th, 2018.
Does the housing director get consideration that 1920 kind of just blanks from the page due to COVID reasons?
It was before that, though.
I know.
It's not even.
I thought it was a lot more recent.
Excuse-
I had down
excuse my
2021, 2022.
Nope. We are actually going into our 7th. This year will be our
That's
7th
exciting.
baseball season. Yes.
Hey, for someone who's probably arguably the least informed, I have been off 1 year in each one of
I
those.
give you a
Congrats.
ton of credit.
Been off 1 year.
So we have produced 2 documentaries. Back to the namesake of the studio, the Nasir Harris podcast studio. We, unfortunately, Mr. Harris passed away, and we did a documentary honoring his life, which is still on our YouTube page. We also more recently did one for the West Shore Connect program. And that is also on cpcnightlynews.com right on our front page. So the Nasir Harris documentary or the West Shore Connect documentary would be acceptable answers.
You wouldn't accept the one you did.
It wasn't a club function.
I know. That's what I got mixed up on.
It was fun. I enjoyed it. I actually watched it like the other day.
I know. It's really good.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Wait, what is the one that you did?
I did one on the COVID baseball season called The Final Out that basically interviewed all of the folks that never got to play their final baseball game in college because they graduated and they canceled the season.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds very depressing.
I tried to spin it positively as best I could. Of course, it's depressing. I mean, that's the story. But honestly, there's a positive message at the end. So
Was it a video documentary or an audio documentary?
It was a
video.
short. It
Okay.
was 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But I do encourage you watching it.
I'm gonna have to go back and find
it.
it.
Was really important to the guys that did it.
It was
really well
important.
done.
It was really important to me too. Okay, last but not least, the Nightly News Media Club has won 6 P&A awards. We have one for best photo. We have sports photo, 2 times from Dylan Bowman. Myself and Leslie Heimbaugh won for podcast for Nights at the Movies. Leslie also won for Best Feature and Best Review, honorable mention, I would point out. And then we also had a diversity series that featured like 5 different students. So if you have any of those students and you would like to read them off, I will gladly take them. But again, we have won 6 P&A, Pennsylvania News Media Association awards.
I was close. I guessed 5. But I have Dylan Bowman and sports photos.
That's 2. Any other questions about
I
scoring?
put sports. Does that count for anything?
How about 1? We'll give you 1. You're in the ballpark.
I have sports broadcast, but not photo. So.
I can't even give you 1 on
It's
that.
all good.
And
It's
Andrew
all
and
good.
Brian weren't anywhere on those awards, were they?
No.
Okay.
Okay, so total up your scores, and then we will see where you stand thus far.
5.
Oh, this is terrible. I have 4.
I have 3. I
So-
started strong and then fell off.
So, Margaret, you have 4.
Yeah.
Jen, you have 4.
3.
3. And then Lindsay now moves into the
You
lead
go,
with
girl.
5. Okay.
Wow.
Well, listen, thank you all so much. I know this was just something fun to do. I just wanted to do something a little different just so we could kind of walk down memory lane. And again, I just want to come back and just thank Lindsay. Thank you. I mean, not only just for your hard work, your guidance and mentorship of the people who you have in your office, but most importantly, your support of what we do. We couldn't do what we do if it wasn't for people supporting us. When we came to you last term and said, we want to put on a food drive, you not only said yes, but you embraced it. And we, Hannah, I don't want to take any credit. It was sort of a club function, but 200 and some items. I mean, just
Yes.
simply
Nice.
that.
She did awesome.
Little things like that. And it means everything to not only me, but everyone who's a part of the organization. So I just want to thank you very much.
Yeah, go
You're welcome,
Leslie.
Paul.
And Jennifer, I can't thank you enough for all of your help getting in this studio. It's something that we really value. We've, for a long time, really wanted our own space, and this is just perfect. It's a perfect size. Got us some storage because we have lots of stuff to store.
Absolutely.
And we are just so honored to be here. So thank you.
Thank you for all you do for the students.
No problem. It's my pleasure. Margaret, you're the best. Your enthusiasm. I reached out to you. You couldn't have been here more than a month about being on the film series committee, and you're like, "Yep, I'll be there." And you're always there with a smile on. It's so wonderful.
I was just so excited to be asked and involved. I mean, I like doing things, especially with people. So the more things I sign up for, the better.
Well, we really appreciate it. And of course, we had a great time last Friday for Sleepy Hollow. And of course, we'll be announcing the next one, hopefully in the next few weeks. So, Margaret, thank you so much. And thank you all so much for doing the trivia, as maybe corny as it might have been. So,
No,
No,
thank
it was
you.
fun.
Yeah.
all right. Thank you all so much. All right, welcome back to the 200th episode of the Nightly News Podcast. So far, we've heard from Dr. Linda Fedrizzi-Williams, and this is our 3rd and final round of trivia. Now, what the trivia is Nightly News Trivia. And this will be questions about the history of our club. Now, in fairness, the 3 of you probably know more about the club than anybody else, but I want to talk to who the 3 of you are. So first and foremost, Professor Tom Davis, Dr. Davis, welcome back to the show. And number one, I want to thank you for being such an avid supporter. Of course, we've had you on multiple times, not only talking about your dissertation, our book that we did together, our book chapter, as well as the dangers of artificial intelligence. And of course, how can we forget, you're also one of the color commentators for Central Penn Knights baseball. So again, thank you so much for all of your efforts with the Nightly News over the years.
My pleasure, sir.
And of course, we're glad to have you back on this show. Okay, also being joined by the internship coordinator, Kristin Fike. Kristin, of course, you've been on the show multiple times, and of course, we are always proud to have you, but I don't know. If I was a betting person, I would put my money on Kristin to win this trivia. I'm just throwing that out there. But we shall see. We shall see. Kristin, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Last but not least, Steve Hassinger, the Director of Career Services. Of course, Steve, if it weren't for Adrian, you would probably rank up there with number of podcasts that you've been on. I don't have an exact number. That's probably my fault. But it's got to be, you have to be getting close to like 10, right?
Yeah, I think we're probably approaching double digits, yeah.
That's really amazing. And of course, Steve, what else is there to say? Of course, you're also one of the color commentators for Central Penn Knights basketball. We busted our butts together at the soccer match to make over $200 for the Nightly News. So thank you so much for that. And of course, countless of the things that you've done to support us. So again, thank you so much for being here.
Happy to be here. I'm always happy to support the Nightly News.
Okay. We have 6 questions about the history of the Nightly News Media Club. Some of them you may know, some of them you may not, but make your best guess, okay? You're going to keep your own tally, and, I'll read the answers. I'll read through them first, and then at the end I'll come back to them again. Some of them are multiple parts, so you might need a little bit of time. We have had 3 different Nightly News Hall of Fame induction ceremonies. How many people do we have in the Nightly News Hall of Fame, and bonus points if you can name them? One of you will get a point on this. Whoever is the closest. Sort of Price is Right, but you can go over. This is our 200th podcast today that we are recording. It'll be released here in a couple of weeks from when we are recording. What was the date of the first podcast that we ever released? And bonus points, who was the guest who was on the first episode of the Nightly News podcast? So question number 3, what was the year of the first article that we ever published as a club? The year of the first story that we ever published on the Nightly News. And just as sort of a hint, all stories since May of 2021 are at cpcnightlynews.com. So what was the date of the first time that we released a story on the Nightly News blog? One of the things that we are most proud of with the Nightly News is our sports broadcasts. What was the year of the first baseball game that we ever live streamed? And what was the year of the first basketball game that we ever live streamed? The year of the first baseball game, the year of the first basketball game. So not only does the Nightly News publish stories, make a quarterly publication, do a podcast, as well as call our men's and women's basketball and men's baseball games, we have also produced 2 documentaries in our time as a club. So we have produced 2 documentaries. Name them. And the final question. If you were to ask me what I'm most proud of in terms of the things that we have done with the Nightly News, as proud as I am of all of the things, the podcast, the sports broadcast, it's that the fact that we have won several Pennsylvania News Media Association awards. And we are in a category that battles the likes of Shippensburg, Slippery Rock, IUP, Temple, big schools with large communication journalism departments. So the fact that we have been able to be represented through the Pennsylvania News Media Association Awards is something that really touches me and is such a major accomplishment for our students. The first question is, how many Pennsylvania News Media Association Awards have we won? And a point for if you can name who won them or the category. So there's lots of points on the table here. How many, what category, or who were the winners? And 1 point for all of those, any of those that you get. So I'm going to go back. I just need you're allowed to grade your own paper. So if there are any questions about whether something should count, I'm the official judge. So you can bring it to my attention after each question. Okay? Okay, so we have 9 Nightly News Hall of Famers. And it is Dr. Fedrizzi, Norm Geary, Christine Fusselman, Sherry Smith, Brian Christiana, Yuli Adejo, Parker Rose, Leslie Heimbaugh, Tyler Coleman. Sounds like Steve already beat 5.
I got 7.
So
I got 7 of the names.
That's impressive. Who'd you miss? Yuli and Dr. Fedrizzi?
Dr. Fedrizzi. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She was the first one?
Yeah, she was.
Okay.
Yeah, I had Leslie and Brian.
Well, that's good. The first podcast was released on February 9th, 2016.
It's close.
2016. So what was the date you had, sir?
I had April 1, 2016.
Okay.
I had October 29, 2018.
Okay.
I had October 2016.
So Steve is the victor there. And who was the first guest?
Linda.
No.
Adrian.
No.
I had Adrian also.
It was you.
I said to myself, was it me or was it Adrian? Because I was like, I knew I was like the first or second, but
Are you? You didn't even get that. I thought for sure. So Adrian was actually 4.
okay.
Steve was 1. And Coach Dave Baker was number 2. And
Okay.
I was actually interviewed by Nasir Harris on episode 3 to promote a seminar I was doing on campus. And then we got to Adrian at number 4. Steve, I thought for sure you would get that one. Oh, my gosh. I'll never forget that one. Okay, moving on. Next year, we will be celebrating an unbelievable achievement, and that will be 10 years as a club, which means that we started in the year 2015. I was actually an advisor before I became full-time in 2016, but we published our first article in 2015, so we will be celebrating 10 years next year. And, of course, we're going to really celebrate that at the Hall of Fame ceremony that we're going to have next homecoming. So we have a year to plan that. So 2015. Okay, first baseball game was aired in 2018, and the first basketball game in 2019. So 4/18/18 was the first baseball game. January 11/19 was the first basketball game, but I just asked for the year. So 2018 and 2019.
Doing pretty well on all of them except the one about myself.
I'm shocked. I almost thought it was unfair to even ask you that question because I thought you would know that for sure. Well, now you know, and now you'll never forget that.
Yeah.
200 episodes later. Okay, we have produced 2 documentaries during our time. The first was on Nasir Harris, who was our former club member, who our podcast studio is named after. When he passed away, Cy and Yuli and Norm did a really touching documentary, still on our YouTube page. I encourage anyone who's not watched it to please do so. We also produced a documentary on the West Shore Connect program. That was myself, Jen Dulac, Dylan Bowman, and Gabby Bresky that were the integral members of that documentary. So again, the Nasir Harris documentary and the West Shore Connect documentary.
What about the last out one that you made about the baseball team?
So that was me. That was not a club function. So unfortunately, that does not count. It was Central Penn related, but it wasn't a club. It wasn't done and produced by the club. It was written, produced, and directed by yours truly.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't count that as a club function.
Very well.
Lastly, we have won 6 Pennsylvania News Media Association awards. I would accept sports photo. Dylan both won and got an honorable mention in 2 different years.
I have that one.
Myself and Leslie Heimbaugh won for Nights at the Movies as an honorable mention. Leslie won for honorable mention for feature story on Betsy Ham, and also won on a review story on Dr. Marcy Roven's film series appearance. And we also had 4 students contribute to a diversity series, where if you have any of the students, I can confirm if any of those were on the list. But it wouldn't be any of the usual suspects, let's just say that. So let's tally them up and see what we have, and we're going to announce our winner, and the winner will get a special prize yet to be determined.
I have 7.
Okay, so Tom with 7. Kristin.
We were supposed to be counting up our points.
You have to count
You're
them.
not pointless, are you?
Apparently, I am today.
You didn't get any?
I think I got the one, Dylan, with photography.
You didn't have any of the Hall of Famers?
Yeah, I got some of their names, but
Well,
I didn't
Those
have.
are all points.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'll come back to you.
I have
Steve.
4.
Okay, Kristin was 4. Steve?
I get a point for the closest date on
Yeah.
April 1, 2016. Then I have 13.
Oh, well then. Steve, we are going to say that you are the victor of Nightly News Trivia. Thank you so much for playing. And I thought you had a shot, Kristin. I'm sorry.
You can't. You cannot hype me like that. No.
I'm sorry. I guess I put you on the spot. I apologize.
Yes.
Listen, I really just want to take the time. You all know how much this means to me.
Mm-hmm.
And you all know how much the school means to me. And you all know how much that any opportunity that I can give a student means to me. And to be honest, if it wasn't for the 3 of you, I wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be here. The club wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be flourishing in the way that we are. So I just want to thank you all for taking the time today to be here. And it's not just about being here today. It's about everything that you've done for me personally, for the club, for the students, the opportunities that you've given them. I just can't even put into words how much it really, really means to me. So, Tom, thank you so much. Dr. Davis, I might add.
You bet, Dr. Miller.
Yeah, we're getting there. But again, your guidance as a former supervisor, and not only that, your willingness to be a part of the game for, as you like to say, the old pool noodle days. And that's an inside joke that very few people would get, but Tom does. I know he does. And I still look forward to being out there and calling some games with you this year.
For sure.
Kristin, I'm sorry that I put you on the spot. But Kristin, I probably work as closely with you as I do almost anyone on internships. And I can't tell you how many times I've talked to students about you, about how important it is to go see you, about all the connections that you have. And again, your tireless willingness to get our students opportunities that are going to lead to jobs. Like, I just can't put into words how much that means to me. And obviously it means to these people. So thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it.
Steve, where do we begin? I mean, you're a friend, you're a colleague. You're probably still a little salty about the fantasy matchup from this week, but
I'll get you next time. Get you in the playoffs.
But Steve, this is extremely impressive. But and of course, I will follow up with you about what the special gift is. But Steve, seriously, thank you so much for everything that you do, not only just in your job, but also to support the nightly news. Being out at the baseball game, that's not something that you have to do. You do it because you want to do it, and it means the world to us.
Well, and I enjoy doing it, but also as somebody who is a proponent for career development and has built my career around career development, the career development of our students, the nightly news contributes incredibly to their career development and helping them get their careers launched. So I'm always happy to support nightly news.
And the last thing I want to say to both Kristin and Steve is I want to thank you so much for getting me involved in the Penn Ace organization. It has really meant a lot to me, and I was so touched by the award that I won last year, and I'm still to this day so upset that I wasn't able to be there for the award presentation because I was only at the conference for one day. But just the new network of people who I've gotten to meet through you, it's just such a pleasure. And not only that, we get to present together each year, and we're going to be presenting together this year, yes?
If we have a topic, we will. Well, I'm sure we'll think of something.
We have some time to get over that, guys.
How about nightly news trivia? Put Kristin on the spot.
That would be fun. Listen, thank you all so much. We wouldn't be here without the three of you and your contributions, so it means the world. So thank you all so much.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Yes, congratulations.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Welcome back. Episode 200 is coming to a close, but we could not close this podcast without one of our most favorite people in the entire world. So we just got to present to Sandy the Shining Star Award. Previous recipients have been Casey Hicks, Adrian Thoman, Steve Hassinger, people who have truly meant the world to what we do. And I want to talk to you a bit, Sandy, about what this award is, and then, of course, you can take as much time as you'd like to provide some context here. But number one, Sandy, you're definitely up there with Steve as the number two. Of course, Adrian, it's going to be tough to eclipse her number of times on the show. But you are on twice a year, every year. You got to be getting close to double-digit appearances on this show.
There you go.
And we just appreciate not only just your contributions to the club, but your contributions to our students, your contributions to former club members, whether it's a job shadow, whether it's an internship, whether it's whatever it is, you have always been so willing to help our students from our department and our club, get that experience that they need. You've put them in touch with potential job opportunities. And most importantly, Sandy, you want to talk about tirelessly working, is you trying to raise money for our student scholarships.
Well, it has been a pleasure, I have to say. It really has been to work with some of the students from the Nightly News and just give them different perspectives with regard to the communication skills that they learn in your classroom and how that intertwines with fundraising and getting money for our students here at Central Penn College. So I have to say I am in great company with those people that with Steve and Casey and Adrian. It's like, wow, that feels good to be right up there with them.
Dr. Jared Reif as well.
There you
that
go.
just occurred to me. So yes, we've been giving this out annually you're now the 5th recipient of the Shining Star Award, and I'd hope in some of all of your numerous accolades, I hope this somehow ranks up there from us.
It's very kind, very kind. I appreciate it.
It really
Certainly.
means the world to us, Sandy.
Well, thank you. It's always nice. It's a pleasure to always be on the podcast.
You were made for radio. You were
I
made
don't
for
know.
audio. The voice that you have, I'm telling you, I think that you found your calling for your post-retirement career. We can set you up with a little studio in your house. You can do voiceover work. I'm telling you, I can get you set up with this.
You hook me up because I'm going to need something in retirement. Because to go from 150 mile per hour to 0 is not going to happen. But even to go from 150 miles an hour to 75 is going to be an adjustment for me. But I'm looking forward to it.
I want to point out that we're not, shortchanging you here.
No.
You are going to be on our final episode of the term because it will be your last before you retire.
Yes.
So I just want to give us a brief preview that, Sandy is going to have her own time to talk more about some of her experiences with the club.
Yes.
But I wanted to have you in after we gave you the Shining Star Award and wanted to just tell you how much you truly mean, and we wouldn't be where we are without you, and our students wouldn't be where they are in a lot of cases without you. And your role here is just so important to so many people, and I just want to thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I do. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Listen, stay tuned for later this term when we have Sandy back for her whole time, and we can talk a little bit more about not only this award, but, the nightly news and what maybe some retirement plans, what she have going on, how can we stay in touch with her, all of those things. So Sandy, again, congratulations on winning the Shining Star Award. You're the number one Shining Star in 2024.
I'm excited. I'm very excited, and I am honored to be chosen. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right, stay tuned. All right, welcome back to the 200th episode of the Nightly News Podcast, and where would we be without our 3 illustrious club officers, the Nightly News Secretary and CPC Film Series correspondent Nick Hogan. Nick, welcome back to the show. It seems like only yesterday that we just had you on.
Yeah, it's already been since May, though.
That's crazy. I know. It's that's what's so funny. We did Nightly News Trivia earlier today, and you know that 2025 will be 10 years since the Nightly News has been around.
Wow.
We're going to make a big deal about that. So we certainly hope and look forward to 2025. So, of course, we'll come back to you in just a second. And, of course, co-president Dalton Koller, you may know him from our basketball broadcasts. And, of course, on the mound, twirling one-hitters left and right. And looking forward to a great senior season here. Dalton, I don't really know what else to say other than we would have never have gotten where we were with sports without you. I mean, seriously.
I appreciate it. I always love doing the broadcast. They're so much fun to do.
And guess what? The day that this actually is released is our first game. So we're looking forward to that. Of course, we'll chat more about the club meeting this week. And Bret Saveleski. Bret, also co-president here for his final couple terms. Bret, you have stepped onto the scene and just taken over, not only with your amazing feature stories about things like comedy, your pyramid schemes, but you've also managed to step up right into not only our athletics department as a work study, but also career services as a work study. I mean, I don't know if you sleep. Plus, of course, we had you on recently in regard to you being on the cross-country team. But gosh, it's a mouthful.
It all gets done.
Well, listen, I wanted to have the 3 of you on right now because, frankly, it wouldn't be a 200th episode if we didn't have our leadership team here. So I just want to go around and really just ask you all one very simple question. And it's, in your time here, and all of you, I mean, maybe to a lesser extent, Bret, but all of you have been a part of the club for a while. And I want to know, what is it about the club that not only drew you to it, but when you think back on this in years to come, what are some of the most fond memories that you're going to have?
I think the club is like really everything to me now as a Central Penn student. I remember when I first started here, I wasn't really introverted, but there was that whole, new kid in college experience. So it was I don't want to make myself known or anything. And then Professor Black recommended that I join this. And I joined it my next term anyway because I had you and I was like an honorary member at the time. But if I didn't like it, I wouldn't have come back. And obviously I came back every time because I really enjoy writing and making stuff for this club, the publication. I like doing the podcasts and stuff like that. And then when I got to be, once Dylan left, the film series correspondent, that's like my favorite thing to do at school. That's the one thing I really look forward to. I always look forward to doing film series, so it's nice that I got to do one after like almost a year.
That's what I was going to bring up, Nick. Not only are you doing the reporting,
yeah,
you're presenting too. You presented on Labyrinth.
Yeah.
I mean, and that was one of my favorite film series events because I actually got to cover it and I actually got to sort of fill in for you because you can't really interview yourself. I mean, I guess you could, but not journalistically speaking.
Yeah, some of the pressure was off for that at least because I'd rather do a presentation. But I love being not just the film series correspondent, but also secretary. If you asked me like 2 years ago if I wanted to do that, I'd say no because I don't have the time to do that. But then I really did. I just didn't really think about it because it's only really during meetings and just writing minutes. It's really not challenging, but it's very nice having like a respected position in the club like that.
You don't know how important it is. We have 1,000 things going on, and if I don't have decent notes, things will get forgotten.
Yeah.
And I'm sure over the years maybe things have, but I got to be honest, even Dalton, you were the secretary for, you guys have no idea how valuable having good meeting minutes is. I mean, it really makes all the difference. Well, Nick, not only am I glad that you had the opportunity to find something that spoke to you with the film series, but man, you've just been such a great analyst in terms of film, and you've really ran with things that you enjoy and appreciate, which is really a hallmark of what we do here. So again, Nick, I want to thank you for all of your efforts.
Thank you for always supporting me.
Dalton, certainly same question. What is it about that sort of drew you to the Nightly News, and how are you going to look back on this after you graduate?
Again, when I first started, I wasn't really like fully into like story writing. I was more so in it for the broadcast aspect because I know that's what when I came into college, I chose my major as communication. And I knew it's what I wanted to do. It's something along those lines, and I knew that the Nightly News was a perfect route right to that. And pretty much first year I got straight into producing, and then next 2 years I've been actually on the microphone, which has just been so much fun to do.
I want to pause right there. I still tell people to this day, you and Kevon were here on campus for like 2 weeks before you stepped right into producing basketball. And it's the quality of our broadcasts, how it's improved, not only since your time here, but even over the last couple of years. I mean, I am proud to be a part of this. And something that Nick can speak to because he's in my sports broadcasting class, I constantly talk about the classes we had last year about the improvements that we wanted to make and the logistics of some of those things. None of this happens without people like you, Dalton, and the way that you've not only jumped right into production, but then jumped right into commentary. That is not easy. It is not easy. Like everyone's like, oh yeah, I could do that. We encourage you to try. It's something that's very difficult, and you have shown the amount of improvement that you've shown just over the past 2 years. It's immense, and I hope that you can see it in yourself.
No, I appreciate it. I do I don't always go back and listen to it, but I remember the first time I did it, going into it, I was kind of nervous. It was the first time ever being on a microphone for an extended period of time. Don't know really how it's going to go, but I'm going to do my best. And then listen back to it, I was like, oh, it's actually not bad. And also during the time, I was having a great time. I'm getting to, talk about basketball. I'm getting to, watch the game, talk to you, go back and forth with you. It's so much fun. And I always knew that this is something that I wanted to do, but I didn't realize how much fun I actually would have doing it. It's such a blast every time I go out there.
Well, guess what? We got another season.
I know.
So let's bring it home, man.
I cannot wait.
We're going to have plenty of time to call more games, my friend, so I'm looking forward to it.
I cannot wait.
Last but not least, Bret Saveleski. Bret, what is it about the Nightly News that drew you to us? And as you look back, once you graduate, how are you going to remember the Nightly News?
Yeah, so it was definitely, whenever I first came to Central Penn, I was 7 years removed from high school, so I had really no idea what to expect whenever I first got here, and it wasn't until I took your class that you mentioned something to me about the Nightly News, and I'm a business major. I'm not even a comms guy, and writing was always something that I enjoyed doing, something that I was interested in, and I've definitely gotten a lot of opportunities through this and a lot of experiences that I will remember for a long time.
Well, and hey, we may need you on production for the second half of the term because unfortunately our friends Blake and Kevon are both going to be graduating, so there might be a little opening for some production work for you, Bret, coming up.
I'm here.
As you think back, years down the line, how are you going to remember the Nightly News?
I was always kind of going back to whenever I first got here. I was always a pretty, like, when I was in high school and even, like, whenever I first got to hack, I was pretty low-key. I wasn't, like, a big, like, put yourself out there and, like, get involved kind of guy. The nightly news, like, kind of, like, got me out of that way of thinking. And, like I mentioned, there's so many experiences that I've gotten through it and relationships that I've built, people that I've met. And I think all those things is what I'm really going to remember most about it.
Well, thank you. And guys, I know I've told you this before. I know this isn't going to be earth-shattering, but listen, if it wasn't for you and all of your volunteering for what we do, we wouldn't have a club, and we wouldn't have these opportunities for others that are either have already been here or coming down the road. You were paving the way for us not only to be, and we had this announcement earlier at the show, one of the most respected clubs on campus. We've now, in 2025, are going to be a student organization in the same way that the SGA is, and none of that happens without all of you. So I just wanted to kind of tell you about that and hope that you realize how important just the time that you spend with us really is, and how many opportunities you've opened up for some other people. So I just really genuinely want to thank you for all of that.
Appreciate it, sir.
Welcome back to our final segment of the episode number 200 celebration here at our podcast studio open house. What would a Nightly News 200th episode be without my partner in crime, co-advisor of the Nightly News Media Club, Professor Olimpi, Professor Michael Lear-Olimpi. Thank you so much for joining us today.
No, sure. Thanks for having me.
So just wanted to come on here, and I'm not going to give you the trivia questions. Like, I'm not going to put you on the spot.
Well,
but
all right.
I just want to read off what some of the questions were.
Okay.
So the first question was, I had everyone list off, first of all, how many Nightly News Hall of Famers we have, and then a bonus point if you could name them all. I'm not going to, again, I'm not putting you on the spot. I'm just going to read over. The date of the first podcast.
February 9th, 2016.
Very good. The year that we published our first story.
First story? 2017, I think.
No. 2015.
Oh, I should know that. It was 2015, all right.
Nick Schenkel had one of the first ones.
Yeah.
But it was definitely 2015. Okay. The year of the first baseball broadcast.
I have no idea.
2018. The year of the first basketball broadcast, 2019. We produced 2 documentaries.
Yep.
And they are?
2 documentaries.
Well,
Documentaries?
one was on the namesake of our studio.
Oh, right. Nasir. How could I forget about that? In fact, we're sitting here in the Nasir Harris podcast studio. And we did a second one? You're talking about the one that you did?
No.
There was another one?
Yes. The one that I did was not a club function.
No, I know. It wasn't part of your program.
West Shore Connect.
Yeah, West Shore Connect. I knew those things. I was just kind of cloying along there, making the audience
And
wonder.
then I know you know this one. How many PNA awards have we won?
Well, that depends on how you divide them. But
The awards themselves, not how many people have won.
Right. We have 5.
Incorrect.
6.
We have 6.
Yeah.
And
I knew it was 6.
Bonus points if you can name who they were. We know you can. Dylan Bowman, Leslie Heimbaugh, and the different folks from the diversity series, as well as Leslie and myself for the podcast.
Right. There were a handful from the diversity series.
Correct. So that was the trivia. So we had fun. But I do want to leave with just a couple quick questions that I asked the gentleman here before. But, Mike, when you think back to the club and everything that the club has meant to not only just us, but the students and the college at large, what are some of the things that you're always going to remember, or maybe you look back years from now and recall?
Well, working with the students, of course, on their stories. The premiere of the special services that we came up with. A lot of that was here in the podcast studio with you, the podcast. I remember those times trying to get a podcast going and trying to establish a club, find studio space. That was a challenge. One thing that comes to mind, too, is I'm looking at the bobblehead doll you have here. And that was an interesting enterprise, coming up with commercials that we produced for a local realty group.
I did not count those as part of the documentaries, although I did have it on my list.
They weren't technically documentaries, right? They were commercials. Yeah, there's so many. I mean, there's so many things that I can think of. But, those that I named particularly stand in my mind. And, of course, winning PNA awards in the Pennsylvania News Media Association, recognizing us for our work. We were recognized twice for podcasts, yeah, and the rest of them for stories that were produced for the blog. And we don't even have a journalism department.
You know, it's so funny because during the trivia, that was one of the things I said. And in fact, I will never forget the first year that Leslie got honorable mention, and I stormed into your
I remember
class.
that. I remember that.
And I felt terrible doing it, but I also knew that Leslie was in class at that time. And so I thought, maybe Mike won't get mad at me for busting into his class to let him know this amazingly good news. And then since then, we've won 5 more. It's just like, and we always say this, we are competing with schools 10 times our size with full-fledged journalism departments. The fact that we have been able to do so well in PNA, including our first win with Dylan Bowman in sports photography, I mean, it just speaks to all of the hard work, not only that you and I put in, but the students and everything that they are able to do if they just put their mind to it. And it's just, that's one of the key memories that I have.
Yeah, it's mind-blowing. In fact, Dylan's won 2 awards, for photography.
Well, I want to end with this, Mike. I haven't had anybody put me on the spot and ask me any questions today. So I want to leave with, you can ask me anything you want club related. It doesn't have to be trivia, but just anything that you'd like to ask me, and we'll kind of end the show with that.
What was the first time, you can give me a season, not the month, but we discussed establishing a media club?
Probably in fall of 2014, if I had to guess.
You're right. It was September or October of 2014 when we began talking about forming a media club, and then it went for a long time. We don't have to get into the details now. Everybody knows that dealing with an institution to try to establish a club or charter of any type can be a challenge. And but it didn't take us too long. We were fairly persistent.
One of the things I do recall is we had a few Kim Crone, Kristin Fussum, and Nick Schenkel.
Right.
We had some folks who were really interested in getting this off the ground. And it's funny because Christine always tells us, because we call her, one of the founding members, and she always says, well, I didn't really do a whole lot with the Nightly News.
She did a lot.
But you helped to start this thing. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't have even started this. And she's super modest, and of course, we've had her on in the past. But yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that I recall too. And listen, one of the things that I just unbelievably respect about you is that you have really, really instilled an amazing attitude among the written work that we do here, Professor Olimpi. I mean, the quality of news that we are putting out. Sometimes we gotta, twist an arm here or there to get some stories in. But the quality of work, as I go back and read and I, help to put together a publication each term, it's something that you should most certainly be proud of, and I'm sure you are.
No, I am when I think about it. Yeah, I mean, they do the work. I help them tune it up. That's all it is. I mean, we have the interest there. And you always have that core in a group, that core membership, who have that passion and drive, and it's infectious. It rubs off onto the others, and they roll along pretty well when they're hyped up.
Well, just to close, 2025, 10 years as a club.
Yeah.
And is something that we are going to make a somewhat of a big deal about at our Hall of Fame induction ceremony in 2025. Of course, we're not going to announce those. Homecoming's literally just over a couple weeks ago. But we will certainly be making plans for that, and we 100% have to talk about 10 years.
We became official in August of 2015. In fact, Christine and Kim Crone she says she doesn't think about being a founding member, but she was. They helped write the first bylaws. They were at the first meetings. Yeah, so mid-August, next coming.
Well, we've got some big shoes to fill. We've got some Hall of Famers coming up. We got potential PNA awards for 2025, so a lot of big things on the horizon, and most importantly, we're a news organization now. Not that we always haven't been, but in the eyes of the college we are, and that's something that we're going to talk much more about in the coming weeks and months and into 2025.
We are. Thanks for everything you're doing with the podcast, and carry on.
200 episodes, man. It's like it was only yesterday, back in February of 2016. I'll leave you with this. Steve was on the trivia.
He was on. Yep.
He was on the first.
He was on
episode.
the first podcast.
He didn't even get that answer correct.
I just want to make a note. I knew the trivia questions. I was just trying to give us some suspense, like the people who know on Jeopardy make you wait before they answer with a question.
I've rubbed Steve enough for not knowing the question. But listen, Professor Olimpi, without you, we aren't where we are today. I mean, it's just that's all there is to it. So I just want to thank you for being a great colleague and giving your all to the students. And
thank you. Well, it's mutual. Thanks, Paul.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for episode 200. I want to thank all of the guests today. I can't list them individually. It'd take me a half an hour. But I do encourage you to continue reaching out to the Nightly News podcast anytime you'd like to be on. We'd love to have you. But Professor Michael Lear-Olimpi, the co-advisor of the club, this is Professor Paul Miller, and we'll see you again next time on the Nightly News podcast.